Hey guys, it's Kevin in my review for the technically second week of Celebrity Big Brother. This is episodes 4 through 5. I know this is confusing, but there was an eviction tonight, and as I told you guys, whenever there's eviction, I'm going to try to review whenever there is, just because I just feel like if I were to review the week and there's 2 evictions, it just would be kind of strange overall because I'm talking about 2 technically separate weeks. So we're just going to get right into it. This was definitely an interesting week. You know, I was really looking forward to seeing how this would play out. I loved the first week. I thought it was a return to form for Big Brother. You know, the players were a lot more strategic. They weren't as focused on materialistic things like a lot of the Big Brother players tend to do now, and that's something I really did love about the first week, and that did continue here. I thought this was definitely another very strong week. It does very well show who the players are, and I do think it changed my opinion of who I think actually has the best chance of winning this entire thing. You know, especially when it comes to certain people who I thought weren't going to play as much are actually playing, and that definitely very much does surprise me. But we're just going to get into it right now. So obviously, the first thing I want to talk about is everything that went down with, you know, the whole Chuck leaving and not James, sort of the aftermath of that. That is a large part of last night's episode, and I really did love the way this was done because automatically, this has completely shattered the Women's Alliance. That's done. There's, like, no way they're ever going to be able to repair it. I mean, it's seemingly irreparable. I mean, you know, there's always a chance in Big Brother for something to turn around, but it just seems like the wound has definitely hit Omarosa in a big way, and especially Shannon, that I just don't know if they're going to be able to ever get back on the same page again. We'll just have to see the way that does in fact play out. But basically, because of this, you know, Shannon is now target number 1 at this point. Everyone is pretty much going after her. You know, she's trying to make amends with Omarosa, and I'm interested in seeing really where things do go for Shannon from here, because Shannon was in a place where I thought, oh, she definitely has a great chance of winning. She can play under the radar as long as she keeps her cool and doesn't try to do a lot of stuff in the first week, then she should be fine. But then the first week happened, and already Shannon's just done way too much, and there's already so much baggage for her. I mean, especially when it comes to everything that went down last week. You know, she pretty much was at the forefront of pretty much every large event, everything that went down. You know, Chuck leaving, that was because of Shannon. I mean, sure, Ross was a part of that as well, but Shannon, you know, she was the one who really wanted to rally the troops and get everyone to turn against Omarosa and Keshia. That was all Shannon. Shannon, you know, she won the first HOH, even though, you know, Keshia got the you know, the whole recast. Shannon did win the first HOH. Shannon won the first POV. So, naturally, Shannon has really made herself a huge target. And that is something that we are seeing a lot of, especially in this week. Because here's the thing. This season, of course, is expedited. And it does keep things interesting. That is something I am enjoying. But it seems like a common misconception that a lot of the house guests are seeming to have about the season is the notion that, oh, it's expedited, which means we need to do things a lot quicker than we would on a normal season. And that's not always the case. And we really do see that here this week. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But like I said, Shannon right now is not really in a great place at all. She really only has James on her side. Everyone else has pretty much turned against her at this point. They are actively, you know, not interested in making any deals with her, and that's understandable. Like I said, she's just a huge target. Why would you want to make a deal with someone who could possibly, you know, be going home or could be on the verge of leaving? I mean, it's not really a good idea, and it makes you a target, because if this person knows that you are in cahoots with Shannon and you two, you know, have some sort of deal, then automatically you've now made yourself a target. So it's understandable why no one's really working with her. I feel bad for Shannon because I thought coming into this game, she really had, a huge advantage, and especially with her being a super fan. I mean, there's a lot to really like about Shannon. That's the thing, that's the thing about her. She is so likable. You really want to root for her, but after the week she's had, I kind of feel like her game's over, and I just don't really see this really going any other way for Shannon at this point. I think it's pretty much do or die for her, and if she doesn't win HOH in the next, 2 weeks, when I say weeks, I mean, in the next 2 HOHs, if she doesn't win one of those, then she's definitely going to be out the door very soon, and I definitely would be worried, like I said, if I was Shannon right now. But the big stuff we really have to talk about is, of course, Ross, because, like I said, I think the biggest thing that a lot of these house guests are doing wrong, and this is a good problem. Again, it's a good problem because there's actually something happening. It's not just people sitting around and relying on this one person to do all the dirty work. No, people are really playing for themselves, and that's something that we don't really see a lot on Big Brother, especially last season. Felt more like Survivor, and this really does feel like Big Brother. People are playing for themselves, but some people are really starting to, again, misuse the whole expedited thing, and especially when it comes to Ross, because Ross does end up winning HOH this week in a pretty, impressive, winning in this HOH, because it was the Bowl Arena, and obviously Ross is not the most physical guy in the world. He's not really someone I would expect to win a comp like this, so to see him really pour his heart out, that was actually really cool. I really love seeing Ross win. He did a really great job there. The problem with Ross this week is that he has gotten himself so heavily involved with everyone, and he has made so many connections that he's basically painted this huge target for himself, because we see this week that he's gotten all these kinds of side alliances at this point. He's got a final 2 deal with Shannon and James, which he thinks he could do really well with, but he also has a deal with Ari and Brandi. Those 2 he's very close with. He's also very close with Marissa. Those 2, that's really the person that he is the most comfortable with. Those 2 are basically working in unison at this point, which I really did like seeing. Again, that's something a lot of people expected, that Marissa and Ross would work together, and I'm liking what I'm seeing of them. I think they do work well together for the most part. But like I said, he really does have his hand in every pot, and because of that, it's not really working out that well for him, especially because the way he goes about it this week. I think he went about it in completely the wrong way, because he's tight with everyone. So because of this, he is basically, letting loose, and he's not really leaving himself with anything to hide, because he lets pretty much everyone know, he does nominate Omarosa and Keshia, but he lets everyone know that, hey, the plan is, to maybe take down one of them. If we were to win the veto, maybe we're going to take one of them down and go after Shannon or James, because they are a much bigger target, and it would just, bode well for us all. We want them out. Let's just get them out. And the problem is, Ross wants to make this huge move, which it is a good move. Let me just say that. Taking out Shannon and James, that's a great move. They have a lot of power right now. There's a lot, you can really, if you want to take a shot at them, you absolutely could, but he did it in completely the wrong way, because in doing this, he spills it to everyone. Everyone he's working with pretty much knows about his plan to take out Shannon or James, and you can see that they are not as on board as Ross is. When he tells them about it, they tell him that, oh yeah, we're planning on doing that next week. We want to go after her next week. This is definitely the game plan, heading into the next week. So no one really is interested in taking her out now, but again, Ross is so set on taking her out that he's clouding his judgment in that way, and I think that really, all this power is really starting to hurt him, and I don't like seeing that. Again, similar to Shannon, Ross is very likable. He's very easy to root for in that way, and you want him to do well, but based on what he did this week, I kind of think he might have tarnished his game. I really think he did, especially with the way things do wrap up. I really do not see things going well well for Ross past this week. Unless someone like Marissa wins, I just don't really see things going well for him. So Ross in general, I like I said, similar to Shannon, I'd be very worried if I was Ross heading into the next week, because he really has painted this huge target for himself that he did not need, and it's just not really going well for him at all. But the other problem is he's very indecisive. I mean, if he wanted Shannon out, that would be one thing. But that's not what's going on. He's so indecisive where he can't really make up his mind. You know, does he want to take out Shannon and backdoor her? Or does he want to keep the nominations the same and just get out someone like Keshia or Omarosa? You know, he just does not know what he wants to do. And I think that, like I said, is the biggest problem here. He did not have a set decision. He did not know what he wanted to do. And he basically let others manipulate him into, you know, basically making the decision for him. And what I mean by that is someone like a Brandi or an Ari, which I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but out of everyone right now, the person who surprisingly I think is playing the best game is either Brandi Glanville or Ariadna Gutiérrez. Now, these two people, I thought were going to be complete floaters, that they were just going to sit back and they really weren't going to do anything, especially Brandi, who she's already established that she's not good at Big Brother. I mean, she came into the season, didn't even know what a backdoor was. She is, you know, well known for getting out, I believe, second place in Celebrity Big Brother UK, so a lot of people did not suspect she was going to do well, but now her and Ari are really tight, and, you know, she knows obviously what Ari is famous for, which of course is the whole Steve Harvey debacle and her not winning, and she really wants Ari to win. And you know what? The way that they've been playing the game so sly and so under the radar, I could really see things going well for them. And if they continue this work, which it really is great, this could take them all the way to the end. It really could, because they are the ones who really get the idea of backdooring Shannon into Ross's head. You know, they tell him, look, you need to get her out. She doesn't want to work with you. It's just not a good idea. Whether or not it's true, they are so set on taking her out and doing this, you know, not because they are, you know, they want her out, but because the fact that Ross is in power right now. And I don't think they're necessarily trying to sabotage his game, but they're trying to put the target on Ross so the target isn't on them. And basically, you know, what they really want, they want Ross to do. And that's something I really do love seeing. I think they're doing an incredible job. Like I said, it's very sly, it's very under the radar, and that's really what you need to do in a game, especially when it's this early, which, I mean, it is still early technically. I mean, it's the second week. Sure, the game's only 3 weeks long, but it is still technically early. There's still quite a few people left in the house. It is a good thing to be very under the radar, and I think that really is going very well for Ari and Brandi. And like I said, out of everyone, I think they kind of have the best advantage heading into next week. So I'm very interested in seeing how they're going to do. I still can't believe that out of everyone, I'm saying they're really playing the best game, but honestly, they are. I love what they're doing, and I'm very interested in seeing what they do heading into the coming weeks. And then the only other thing to talk about before heading into everything that happened in the eviction and whatnot is Omarosa, because obviously Omarosa, first week was a huge character in the show. You know, she orchestrated the Women's Alliance, and obviously it is now crumbled, and you can see that she is recovering, but she is dead set on going after Shannon. She wants to do whatever she can to make sure that Shannon pays for this, and, you know, this is really one of the things that gets Ross to entertain the idea of going after her. So again, you can see none of this is really Ross's doing. This is just kind of other people interjecting their feelings and Ross thinking, maybe we do need to go after Shannon. So again, you can just kind of see why he's all over the place in that way. But Omarosa, like I said, you know, she's really trying to deal with that. You know, she's trying to make sure that people are on her side, and similar to Shannon, a lot of people are very iffy about working with Omarosa because she is a big target right now. She is someone you could very well go after. So she does not have many allies in the house right now, and things get really serious for her, actually, when in the middle of the bowl arena, she actually has a bit of an asthma attack, and because of this, she does have to go to the hospital. It's not like a Christmas situation where she has to stay there for that long, thank God, but luckily she is, in fact, okay. And from there, it seems like she's pretty quiet about it. You know, we still don't really know where her head is at. And especially after this whole Shannon thing, and especially after what's happened this week, I'm very interested in seeing where Omarosa's head is at, because it's kind of hard to tell. You know, it seemed like she was so set on this woman's alliance, but now I don't really know who's on her side. I don't know Brandi and Ari. I don't think they're on her side. The guys don't really seem to be on her side. Really, it seems like she's close with Metta and possibly Mark. I mean, Mark, again, he's someone who, out of everyone, he's had probably the worst, you know, he's really had the worst social skills out of everyone here. He really has not made a solid connection yet. You're waiting for him to do so, but it just really hasn't panned out for him. So, again, with Mark, I don't really know how that's going to go. I'm interested in seeing where Omarosa does go in these next few weeks, though. She could really make herself this big target, you know, or she could just turn it around. I mean, I really don't know at this point. Omarosa is very unpredictable, and I'm interested in seeing really where she does go from here, because, again, similar to Shannon, I don't really think there's a lot left for Omarosa to do. I think she could very well be next on the chopping block after Shannon. In fact, if there's a double eviction, I would not, which there's not this week, but I would not be surprised if in a double eviction, Shannon and Omarosa actually both end up leaving. I think that very well could happen, but we'll just have to see the way things do play out there. But now I do want to get into the tonight's episode, the eviction, and everything that went down there. So, obviously, you know, like I said, because of the fact that Ross was so indecisive, there really was no telling what could have happened here. We could have had a huge blindside, and Shannon could have gone, you know, Keshia or Omarosa could have won it, which would have left Ross with the option to put up either Shannon or James, which, you know, it seemed like he was pretty set on putting up Shannon, but that's not what ends up happening. What ends up happening is Marissa ends up winning the POV, which was really impressive. Again, a lot of the players that I thought weren't really going to do that well are surprisingly doing really well. The problem is, once again, Marissa is someone who is associated with Ross, and the two of them pretty much had this plan together to go after Shannon, and I think she's just as much of a target as Ross, and she's made herself just as much as one. So Ross and Marissa definitely a force to be reckoned with, definitely someone to watch out for. But after she wins the POV, we see Keshia. She just starts breaking down crying, and I'm not just talking about just like a small cry here and there. No, she's legit bawling. Like, there's clearly something wrong. We don't really know what's going on. We'll get into really what that's all about, but this basically gives them the idea that, you know what, Keshia's crying. She talks about how she just wants to leave. She doesn't want to be here anymore. The second person to say that now, besides Metta, Metta is just someone who continues to completely defy authority and does not understand how the game works at all. I mean, even when he was trying to evict someone, instead of voting to evict Chuck, he voted for the person he wanted to stay. So you can just tell of everyone, Metta is clearly the most confused. He does not really know what he's doing here. It's fun to watch. You know, normally I'd say, why do you cast these people? But honestly, it's so entertaining that I'm really not going to get too upset about it. It's just a lot of fun to watch Metta be so just wrong with everything that's going on. He, like I said, really does not understand this game at all, and it actually is a lot of fun to watch. So again, I'm not going to be too hard about that. What I am going to be hard about is Keshia, because what the fuck are you expecting to happen, honestly? What was she thinking, honestly? She signed up for Big Brother. You know, she knew that this was going to be a 3-week thing. She knew she was going to be away from her family. So why all of a sudden are you surprised? Why do you just want to leave all of a sudden? You know, I understand you're homesick, but it's not because she's homesick. What it is it turns out that basically she only, you know, her child for some reason only wants breast milk and wants her to, you know, she's not there to breastfeed her child, so she wants to get out of there immediately. And again, my question is, if you constantly had to nurture your child with breast milk, why in the hell would you sign up for this game? I mean, you knew exactly what it would entail. You knew you would be away from your family. I don't understand that. I genuinely do not understand why you would sign up for this game if you knew that you'd be away from your family for 3 weeks. And if you really thought that your child would not be able to, be on their own with a babysitter or something like that for 3 weeks, why would you leave? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it's different if your child's, like I said, not an infant, but if your child's really young and you don't really have anyone else to take care of them, I just don't get it. I really don't get what Keshia was thinking here. It's honestly really dumb. It's one of the dumbest reasons for leaving I think I've ever heard. But this basically, makes them think, hey, I mean, you are basically voluntarily quitting, so why don't we just get you out? Which is essentially what they end up doing. They take the easy road, and they do in fact evict Keshia, and in this respect, I think it was the right thing to do. She really wanted to go home. You could tell she really didn't want to be there anymore, and it did keep Ross from making himself a huge target, which I'm happy about. I'm happy to see that Ross was able to inflict that target off himself. However, moving into next week, if I was Ross, I still would be very worried because Keshia did kind of gesture to James and Shannon and kind of let them in on the idea that there is a plan to go after them and that they're not nearly as safe as they think they are. So like I said, if I were James or Shannon, I would definitely be pretty pissed at Ross, and I would definitely try to win that HOH as hard as possible, for sure. But like I said, that really is where we do, in fact, end things here. Keshia is gone. Good rinse, honestly. I think, again, nothing personal against her, but I don't get, why would you sign up for this game? Why would you sign up for this game if you knew you were going to be away from your family? I just don't understand it. It was a dumb decision to begin with, and it's honestly her fault. There's really no excuse for this. I get it that she obviously maybe had some hormonal problems and whatnot, but if you were really that concerned, you just should not have left, and that's really all I have to say about that. So like I said, overall, this was definitely kind of a strange week in the house, and again, I think it's mainly because of the expedited game. It was very rushed, it was very fast, and once again, there was a lot of stuff in this episode I think they very much could have cut out, specifically a sequence involving Omarosa and some politics. We get it, she's involved with Donald Trump. We don't need this. We really do not need this. I do not watch Big Brother for, the latest politics and all that stuff going on. I watch Big Brother for good gameplay, and we are getting that this season, so it is easy to excuse that stuff, but again, it's just kind of annoying. It's padding that we don't need, and I really do hope that they try to, do a better job of editing this stuff, because right now, I understand the game is in fast motion. There really isn't a way to get around that, but because of that, they shouldn't be putting all this filler stuff in here that we just don't really need, and Omarosa and politics is definitely one of them. Let's talk about what's going to happen in the next week, because like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I would definitely interested in seeing. If someone like Shannon or James wins HOH, if I was Ross and Marissa, I would definitely be worried. I mean, they might have somewhat taken the target off their backs because of the fact that nothing really happened. They were able to just get out Keshia and everything's fine. But, once again, pretty much everyone knew of Ross's plan. And if Shannon goes to any one of them, and if she wins HOH, they will 100% tell her, hey, Ross wanted to come after you, Marissa wanted to come after you, this is the person to go after. And I would not be surprised if, Shannon or James win and we see Ross and Marissa on the block together, because those are the two people that were so adamant about going after, Shannon and James, or at least most of the house thinks so. Technically, Brandi and Ari were just as, they enforced it just as much as those two did. Again, they were just a lot quieter about it and a lot more under the radar and coy, and I think that's why they have a better chance than Ross and Marissa, who were much more loud, who had a much more louder approach than those two really did. So I think that really is something to worry about. But the same for Shannon and James. If someone like Marissa wins HOH, Shannon and James are absolutely, pretty much dead on arrival at this point. They really have not much time left. I do think that there is a way for Shannon to turn things around if she could try to get Omarosa on her side, because remember, the whole reason that Shannon did this is because she knew that Omarosa was talking to Chuck. She knew that maybe she had some sort of alliance with Chuck and Keshia. And now that Keshia's gone, Omarosa's kind of alone now. She doesn't really have a lot of allies left. And this could be a good chance for Shannon and Omarosa to maybe patch things up. Maybe be able to start some sort of side alliance against Ross and Marissa and people like that. And if they are able to do that, then great for them. It's not likely. It's not likely that Shannon's going to be able to turn things around. We'll just have to see the way things really do, in fact, play out there. So I'm interested in seeing really how things do go from there. Like I said, it's very unpredictable, and that's something I love. I love how unpredictable this season really is. There's a lot of stuff that I'm really loving. I love how instrumental Brandi and Ari have been in this game. It's something I never really would have expected, but again, I think that's why they're playing as hard as they are, because again, who would expect Brandi, Glanville, and Ariadna Gutiérrez to do as well as they are? I mean, Omarosa said it, you know, the idea of Brandi and Marissa playing hard is laughable. That's why they're playing as hard as they are, because no one would suspect that those two are working so hard. Now, Marissa, yeah, you definitely can tell because she just won the POV and she's been working very close with Ross. You know, it is kind of hard to tell. It is kind of easy to tell. I don't think it's as easy as it is for Ross, but for Marissa, you know, I do think if she continues to play the way she is, it could definitely potentially go sour for her. But for Brandi and Ari, I think they're sitting pretty for a while. I think if they continue to play the way they are, they could honestly be there all the way up till the end, along with Metta. Metta's definitely going to be there for a while because he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be there until someone evicts him out, which is what he wants. You know, he doesn't understand the game. He's never going to win an HOH or do anything like, or at least I don't think he's going to win an HOH. If he does, it'll be hilarious. But you know, he's probably going to be there till the end, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, like I said, loving this season. Very interested in seeing really where we're going to go from here. I think there's definitely a lot of potential, for sure, of what really could happen heading into the next week. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought this week overall. Love your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.